Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankara Sharya Madhyamam Asmada Sharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param. Om. Okay, we are on the page 1650, chapter 9, verse 11. Not knowing my higher nature as the great Lord of all beings, those deluded people, materialistic, atheistic, they look down upon me just because I appear as Lord Krishna, for example. I appear as an avatar. I appear as Christ or Jesus or anyone. So anybody who appears with this profound knowledge, somehow it was cultivated in previous life or it was gained in this lifetime based on what was already there in the cultural body from previous births. Anyone who somehow emerged, with this knowledge is kind of looked down by society when things uh, are more or less like we see nowadays, Kali Yuga they call. So those people do not have this sophistication, the purity of mind and heart and the wisdom. They don't recognize me. They look down at me just because I am associated with a body mind. So people look at the Yani or look at the Mahatma or the Guru, and many times they see the physical body, and they don't have an understanding that the physical body is the same, different shapes, but the same thing, just the elements, and but the mind, they can't see a mind that was purified in the fire of Atmayana. They don't have the sensibility. So Krishna in the previous verse conclude the description. So we are covering the description of Ishvara, the nature of Ishvara, and it's said to be a very, very profound passage in the Gita because it's very, very much pure Jnana Yoga, direct knowledge, talking about the true nature of Nirguna Brahman. So we have seen that we have established by understanding logic that this Brahman, sometimes referred to as Ishvara, is a karta and a bhokta. He's not a doer and enjoyer or sufferer of one's actions. And then, of course, Lord cannot be blamed for our problems. So the most common thing is to people, they become atheist because they see the world is, I mean, the human beings are so imperfect. There is so much suffering, there is so much injustice, and cruelty, even, wars, and say, oh my God, if there is a God, why did God create such a world? So, what kind of God is this one? So Lord isn't just because nothing's happening according to my wishes and desires. Why people suffer so much? So people look down upon God by several reasons. Sometimes because they can't accept the downside of being incarnated in a physical reality, physical body, physical realm. So it's just about pleasure and pains. And sometimes there is a lot of pain. And some people, they don't recognize because they are suffering so much and they don't find a way out. They reject God without realizing that only by going towards God and understand the nature of God, Saguna and nirguna, they are going to be free of this psychological suffering, emotional suffering. They just go, no, let's reject God. So this is one way to go. They are suffering, and they are suffering because people are not getting what they want. So Vedanta comes to present us the connection between our thoughts, attitudes, words, and deeds, and the results. Or in other words, our life situation, condition as it is present again and again. So we need to take responsibility for our participation. Oh, but I did not ask to participate. No, you did ask. You don't remember, but you were there latent, wanting more what experience, more knowledge. So therefore, Shwara brought you back here. Don't say that I did not ask to participate. The system, the Shwara system knows exactly, what we want. Even if you commit suicide saying I don't want, the Shwara knows that you want to what to do, what to remove this psychological suffering element of this human experience. So people become God haters, non-believers of God, and so on. And some people, they just do that because they are materialistic. They believe that there is no creator, that the miracle of life is just like a sprout. It's just emerged from inert matter. And there is nothing we can do to help them to understand that we can never have consciousness from inert matter. We need to have a conscious principle from where human consciousness appears. So they reject matter, believing that everything is part of a Big Bang, aleatorical saying, that everything happens by chance. And as we know, if that would be truth, nobody, as James used to say, would stand up, get up from bed in the morning to do things because, oh my God, it's all a question of chance. So that fatalistic attitude is who dominate the mind. But these people who reject God because they want to play God, they know that their actions they count, and they are putting up their actions to acquire more material worldly gains that gives them a sense of much power, so that they can begin sensing that I am my own God. So even if they don't suffer much, but they are just materialistic. They don't believe that consciousness. They believe that the mind is consciousness, consciousness is the mind, and they don't even understand Saguna Ishvara as the totality of all laws and principles, intelligently sustaining this universe. Swami goes and presents an example of a woman that was she gave away all her spiritual books, the books on God. She did not even donate it. She threw it in the garbage. And she says, like, no, I have been praying, praying, praying. Now every day I pray, and I'm not getting enough punya. My wife, my daughter did not find a husband, and my business did not succeed, and this and that. And I'm doing prayers and pujas daily. So Swami presents a concept here that most probably you already heard in other passages, in other texts, that says the prayer, the puja you do produce some punya. But if hand in hand with the pujas or prayers, you are doing a lot of actions producing papa. So these 15 minutes of pujas and prayers is now going to have the power to offset all the papa that you still keep producing. So it's pure logic. The punya produced by your prayer you know. Some even says that it's 2.5 minutes. It's not, it does not, it produces punya, but it's not enough to offset all the papa, no? So what we can take from that? Life is nothing but processing punya and papa. So we produce punya papa through our words and deeds, and we how to say, you plant and then I keep forgetting this word.
You reap.
You reap, yeah.
And we reap. We reap punya papa. We produce punya papa through our actions, and then we reap punya papa as my parabada, my life situation. Okay, so we have to understand, you know, how much punya and how much papa I'm producing on a day-to-day experience of life before I begin demanding punya, 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 you know. And even if I add a little bit of punya actions, you know, sattvic action, spiritual actions, sadhanas, you still may not be able to offset the large amount of papas that I still bring into the system. And I was bringing it before I got in contact with the scriptures and all the papan actions, the actions producing papas that I have brought into my soul system, you know, karmic system in previous births. Yeah. When we see the complexity of this equation, we have to just surrender to God and say, it doesn't matter. I need to begin cleaning up this mess. You know, I need to cultivate good actions, good thoughts, good attitudes, because I know that punya is important as a means, not as an end, as a means, because if I have a good circumstance of life, my life situation, my parabada is good, and then I have a better, more pacified mind to direct it towards Vedanta, the Upanishads. If the mind is too papa disturbs the mind, you know, papa disturbs the mind. It's very interesting. I was remembering something that happened to me 30 years or 35 years ago. I was living most of the time in India, in Pune, with in the ashram there, my first guru. And I was totally broke, as always, living there, having my child. And then I get a letter coming from my ex-wife saying I'm arriving and I'm broken. No, my child at that point was with her here in Brazil. I'm arriving. I got myself together to buy the tickets. I'm arriving with our son, and but we have no money, you know. And then I said, "Oh my God." Then I have to leave my small paradise here to go back to Europe to make money to send to them. But I have no money to even receive them here. And then I was walking in the ashram, and then I find a small thing of money in a plastic or something, on the floor in the ashram, on the floor of the ashram. When I look at that, all $100 bills that 30 years ago or more, and then I picked it up a little bit like shocked, you know. I said, oh my God, I need money, you know. And then I went into the bathroom, I looked, and $1,200, this solves all my problem, you know. And then came my consciousness, came and said, oh, but this belongs to somebody. I should go to the main office and say, I found it here. You understand? Oh, but then the mind start finding, I know, but these people, there is so much corruption. They are going to keep the money for themselves, and this, I better keep it for myself because I need it, you know? So what I did, I kept the money. I said, oh, no, this was Shwara sending to me. It's okay. And now, you know, I have a situation in which, somebody took the equivalent of $12,000, which is 10 times more what I found, you know, to balance my karma, you know. Because the inflation comes, you know. So we keep producing punya papa and reaping punya papa. Don't blame God. Just start working to purify. No, so that how do we produce punya? We produce punya by understand the nature of Saguna Ishvara and make an effort through that understanding to live in harmony with God's laws and principles. So if we live in harmony with Dharma, we begin living a life which expresses itself producing punya, you know. So I put good actions and I tend to collect later on to reap good results, even though I have to take in consideration a lot of punya actions from the past. Before when I remember my life, I used to be so spiritually ignorant, you know. I was fundamentally always was a good person. But I used to do so many damn things, such as that one I just mentioned, to keep money that did not belong to me, you know, out of being totally broke. Having given the description of a higher nature of God up to verse 10. Now in the 11th verse, Krishna is changing the top. And the top now is samsara kara.am. So is Ishvara the cause of this problematic world, you know, this samsara place where there is so much suffering? Why do we have so many problems and injustice in the world? Krishna wants to say that the problems are because we expect permanence from impermanent without understanding that life here is about experiencing pleasures and pains. Nothing is permanent. Everything turns and changes. So wrong expectation is the first thing. Oh, you were born here. If you are very wise, you're going to cry saying, not again, like that little child in India. But mostly we cry a little bit. And we are here. We say, I don't know why I came here. No, you forgot. So you forgot that life here is about pleasure and pain, and you want to come here to chase pleasure. We all come here because we want to more experience in the hope that I can somehow control my setup and I can just extract punya, favorable experience, good experience, you know. So no, here is all about punya papa. It's impermanent. Things change. If you have a wrong expectation, and then you're going to suffer. There alone is already. That's the problem. Huh? People do not want to change the mindset, as Swami puts. You know, Swamiji, we try to change our mindset, control the environment, control of experience in order to have a pacified mind, a happy mind. So fundamentally, more philosophically, we expect permanence from something which is absolutely impermanent. We expect security in a world that fundamentally is absolutely insecure. It's ever insecure. Our life is insecure. It can pop at any time. We expect fulfillment by consuming experience, you know, we consume experience that can somehow make us fulfilled, satisfied, happy, permanently happy. We want this permanent satisfaction, so called as ananda. But we want to get ananda from a world which is finite by nature, insecure by nature, incomplete by nature, impermanent by nature. So the first thing is wrong expectations cause huge problem. So it seems to be simple, but it's so profound, all of these bits and pieces of psychology, you know, because people do therapies all over the place and, you know, and everybody's suffering, the therapist is suffering, the patients are suffering, and they don't understand basic principles, such as what do you want from this world? Oh, I want to feel good about myself. You are already full, whole, and complete. You are consciousness. No, but I can't understand that. Okay, then let's work on your in your self-image, and you need to understand that you are a creature produced or made or created by God. You have a potential, blah, blah, blah. Vedanta would have a totally different approach. But fundamentally, people have to be introduced to the concept that life here is about not getting what you want. Yeah. It's about serving the Dharma field, contributing and expecting and accepting what comes with a certain attitude. Take responsibility. Don't say that I don't know why I came. We can explain you why you came. So Vedanta has a totally different approach, even when we touch elements of human psychology, such as this one, wrong expectations. If a person wants security, if a person wants peace and happiness and so on, we should go to something which is permanent, which is full, whole, and complete. And what's that? The higher nature of God. So I have to go to the higher nature of God. Oh, but I don't want to go to the higher nature of God. I want my higher nature so that I'm always full, whole, and complete. I feel permanently happy and satisfied. And then Vedanta says, okay, you can go that. You can go direct to trying to understand your higher nature. But it's much safer if you begin by trying to understand the higher nature of God, so that later on you understand that your true nature is identical to the nature of God when it comes to the higher true nature of everything, Higher nature, the formful or formless, the formless, of course. Krishna says, nobody understands and comes to my higher nature. They are holding on to the lower perishable nature. So this is also another point. And that's why I have been emphasizing that it's better to go for trying to understand and realize the higher nature of God, Brahman, then try to understand your higher nature, bypassing God, rejecting God, forgetting about God. Okay. So when you try to do it directly, like most of these spiritual circles do propose, so it's almost unavoidable that people say, yes, my higher nature is a kata, bhokta, and so on. But the lack of that relationship with the creature and the creator, understanding first the creator on its level as Saguna Ishvara, to later on go into Yan Yoga and to understand the true nature of God as non-dual Atma, non-dual consciousness, So that relationship is going to calm down the human ego. Otherwise, the human ego is start working on myself, my I, my mind, and then I just realize something here. And then the ego becomes a superego that thinks I am God, because he's going to transfer some attributes of the body mind to that which one believes to be my higher nature, You understand what I'm talking about? So if you want to claim your higher nature, don't hold on to your inferior nature. Your inferior nature is superimposed, is constituted by the gunas, and once it is I'm happy. Now I am a great soul. Anything that is something configured by the gunas is limiting. Okay, and then if one becomes a saint, one becomes, enlightened being, loved and respect by everybody. So chances are that the individual is going to understand my superior nature, but I'm I don't want to let go of my perishable nature, the goodness that makes my perishable nature. And then more often than not, the person doing this claim do not really enjoy the ananda because there are some gunas being transferred to the understanding of my true nature, which prevents the sense of limitlessness. You understand? You understand, Lynn?
Could you flush that out with a concrete example of how that works?
For example, somebody does a lot of spiritual work, but was never inclined toward anything related to God, the creator, or anything. But he's a Buddhist, for example. And he does a lot of deep meditation. He goes into deeper states of mind. His mind gets purified and so on. And then at the end, this person say, "No, I have a realization of reality as nothingness or whatever, And the person somehow has a certain glow. It has a certain radiance. I'm using here an example of Buddha, for example. And but it's somebody who has always reject or avoid the concept of God. He was looking for his higher nature within his mind, within himself. And then once you realize that, the ego not being properly put in its proper place, purified, educates, and so on to understand that as a body, mind, sense complex, even if I became a Mahatma, it's still my lower nature. Right? And then he say, no, now I understood my higher nature, but one is caring, it's bring with it one's finite, lower, perishable nature as as somebody who is very respectable, as somebody who is adored everywhere. So you see these people that they're so used of going red carpet here and there, just pull all of that from them, and then see how enlightened they are, and then have people just criticizing and attacking them for some reason, and then you see how enlightened they are because they will say, no, I am consciousness, I am Turiya, I am this Samaj. But it's still guna. It's still guna. So on the other hand, if we do this journey, try to understand the nature of Nirguna, Brahma, Nirguneshwara, and Saguna, and Saguneshwara and Nirguneshwara, this relationship is going to refine the ego. The ego is going to understand that as an entity, as an experiencing, knowing entity, we are finite. No matter how much and how often people may put you on the pedestal somewhere, that's not me. Huh? Otherwise, ones may do the claim, but still holding on to the gunas that has made them such a celebrity. But that celebrity is still one's inferior, finite, perishable nature. You understand? So therefore, the importance of doing this vichara, this investigation, by try to understand the nature of God until it's clear. And then later on, it's easy to understand, like the ego was purified. And then when the Upanishads come and say, and by the way, your Atma is of the same nature. So your mind fundamentally is free, limitless consciousness in its true nature. So this final claiming needs to be done in a way without us caring aspects of our inferior, finite, perishable nature. Therefore, Krishna says the problem is with the people. That is their confusion. And therefore, he gets almost wild and he says, Mudaha. Muda means what? Confused people, ignorant people who are not able to differentiate that which is permanent with that which is impermanent and changing, nitya and anicca. So that's how Shankaracharya begins his Bhaja Govinda. Let's see. Did you find what this verse here, this Govinda Bhajanda, the translation? No?
Right. So what it says is worship Govinda, worship Govinda, worship Govinda, O fool. The rules of grammar will not save you at the time of your death.
The
And
rule.
Govinda, the rules of grammar,
Okay.
those people that just
Right.
study. Mhm.
Yeah, scholars and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever you possess cannot help you for attaining your true nature, which is unchanging. Karta, unchanging. Nirvikara, it's permanently there as consciousness, self-evident consciousness. So whatever you possess is going to limit you unless you don't possess, but you just lease it for some time, such as my physical body, my house, or this and that. They themselves are perishable. And you are going to see in Kaivalya Upanishad, none of them can give peace and security. If you think they will give, you try. So this is a good thing. If you believe that things of this world, which includes I say this status of being respect and I forgot the word. People who these gurus that are adored by people, so they give you so much, they put you up there. So you think that these things are going to give you real peace and security. Forget it. Go there, live that. You're going to lose everything that you gain is going to be lost. If you reputation, prestige, respect, reverence from people, all of this is transient, is impermanent. You understand? It's impermanent. So if you think that those experience, these things that people are giving to you, is going to give you true peace and security, chances are you are not qualified for Vedanta. Therefore, go there, suffer, and when you're a little bit more mature, come back. Vedanta will wait. Therefore, Krishna says, they do not know my nirguna nature. They do not know my formless nature. So, param bhavan means what? Para prakriti, as we have seen in chapter 7. Vihaya Chaitanya Svarupa nature. They do not know, they do not understand. And why do they not know? So it is another thing people do not know. I mean, we human beings, we don't know a lot of things, many things, most things we do not know anything. Why should we particularly ask about Parang Bhavan? Are we born with ignorance alone? We are born with ignorance alone. Not only ignorance about our nature of God, we are born with ignorance of many things. The lower nature of God, we are born with ignorance in regards to, reading and being fluent in Japanese language or Chinese language. We are born with so much ignorance. In fact, when we are baby, we are ignorant about everything, although we have some knowledge already there in the subconscious mind. In fact, that is our capital. We are born here ignorant. That is the maximum. Ignorance we do not acquire. This is very nice. I like this concept. Ignorance is absence of knowledge. We don't acquire it. So you remember, I often say we are born from ignorance, we live in ignorance, and most of us die in total ignorance. I'm seeing the ignorance that most counts, most powerful, the knowledge that most counts, the most powerful is self-knowledge. So we are born with ignorance of anything regarding to this world. We are born, of course, with ignorance regard to Saguna Ishvara. We are born as well without the knowledge of the true Nirguna Brahman. And we live in a society which is total, it's all, support and pervaded by this ignorance. And very few people put up an effort to remove ignorance. Some people, they stay the entire life, remove ignorance with regards to knowing things of this world, scientifically or philosophically or so on. So people make a huge effort to remove ignorance, objective ignorance, by gaining objective knowledge. So they put an effort to know things. So, but to know the true nature of God is something that it's a hard sell. People do not see much value in trying to know oneself, thyself, to know the self, the true nature of God. Having ignorance is not a problem, is not a sin. We are born in that way, but not make an effort to get some knowledge, and without getting lost and hooked into the scientific knowledge, fields of knowledge that can trap someone. The people who has a more developed intellect, they want to go into college, university, and they do several degrees, and they want to know this and that. They become very knowledgeable. And all of that to try to find fullness and satisfaction and fulfillment. So those are the intellectuals. And they are making an effort to know things, to make known the unknown. Now, but to get to meet people who are making an effort to know the true nature of God or to the true nature of the self, is very, very rare. And as Krishna was saying here, people look down on people who are trying to get that kind of knowledge because they believe that these people are crazy. They want to know something that's not scientifically provable. But as far as knowledge in respect to removing our ignorance about phenomenal object, so people go about making some effort to remove some of it. So having ignorance is not a problem, it's not a sin. But not making effort to remove ignorance is a problem. Similarly, the ignorance in respect to the true nature of reality or God continues. But very rarely you find somebody making an attempt to remove that ignorance. And as we know, ignorance can be removed or neutralized by knowledge and knowledge alone. So among those rare individuals who want to have the knowledge in respect to God, even more rare are the people who want to know Nirguna, nature of God. Just if you sit with closed eyes, you will get only sleep. You cannot know Nirguna, nature of God, by sitting. Nirguna nature, by using an appropriate pramana or method. And Vedanta is this pramana. Vedanta Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. is the removal of ignorance. Vedanta devotes to help us in gaining this knowledge, which is possible by removing ignorance, because this knowledge is self-evident, self-shine, self-effulgent. It shines as a hum, so it comes as we remove ignorance. And to these people, Vedanta means energy. So for these people, this ignorant, as Krishna Ji was saying, Upanishad teachings and Vedantic teachings, and they have such a aversion. They say it's almost like an allergic reaction. They think that studying these scriptures is just a waste of time. They do not know the value, and therefore they are ignorant of Brahman, and they will die ignorant of their very true nature, their full, whole, and complete nature, the only source of peace and satisfaction and security. It's very important. So there is a saying in our Sampradaya that says like, so our intermediary goal is to develop a value for self-inquiry and self-knowledge. Yeah? Is a gradual development. I start to understand the value because there is a huge cost. I mean, you have to dedicate a lot of time and energy to go through this process of removing one's spiritual ignorance. And meanwhile, you could be making fortune in the marketplace. So how are you going to develop that value? Gradually, gradually cultivating and then developing understanding, and with the understanding, only when you know something you can value, and then you start reaping some of the fruit, and they say, the guru comes and say, this is just the beginning, so there is much more to come, and then you start having a huge value. Your value is growing. But people who do not develop this value for Atmayanam, which is very rare, they die ignorant. They die anyani in respect to their very true nature, which is Ananda, full, whole, and complete. Since they do not know my nature, they are going to take my lower nature as the real God. So this for the luck ones who still have a relationship with a God made out of a name and form and attribute, Ekarupa, Ishwara, Vishvarupa, Ishwara. So some people, they stay associate with my lower nature. They see me as Krishna or Krishna, Rama, and so on. Lower nature is better than not having any association with God. But my true nature is beyond any sense perception. But lower nature is available through sense perception. But it is my finite, limited nature. But it's all right. Not only it is limited, spatially, the form of God is limited, even time-wise. There is a date of birth and a date of death for the body of Krishna. Even the avatars are bound by time and space. But my higher nature is free and limitless. But these people, unsophisticated people, they resort to or take my human form as Krishna and take the human form as Krishna, as the real deal. They are degrading me. This is also interesting. I like this concept. There is a verse somewhere in our text that somebody gets self-knowledge, and then in the end, in tears, in his knees or her knees, I don't remember the story. He's just apologizing. I have been degrading you because I have been loving and adoring you as, this deity, So they think that they are glorifying me, but they are degrading me. Shankaracharya writes a Parapuja, a beautiful sloka, and says, "Oh Lord, in the name of Sodasa Upachara, I'm doing Sodasa Apachara only, just because I'm ignorant of your true nature." When you are beginning the puja, what's the first thing you do? You invite God as if God is not all pervasive, present everywhere. All of that is, insulting, or of course, Brahman is not an entity to feel anything, but from the standpoint of Krishna, who is there speaking behalf of Brahman, of consciousness, he says, "No, as if I was insulted by you, limited by your pujas." Shankaracharya says this is the first apacharam. Apacharam means
Disrespect.
disrespect, is a good word. And therefore, and thereafter, asanam. Thereafter, asanam, you want to give, I don't know, asana.
Asanam, this asanam payami means offering a seat. It's like one of the first things you do in a puja,
Yeah,
offering.
yeah. Please come in. Yeah. So God is away from me. Now I'm invited in. Shankaracharya asks, do you want to give a 2 + 2 asana to the Lord? Lord is the asana on which the whole creation is seated. Okay. The whole world is seated in Brahman. Brahman is not going to sit on anything. Okay. And then all those rituals of washing the Lord, and if the Lord is subject to impurities or dirtiness, so the Lord is formless. No need to clean the Lord. That's why, there is this saying that man creates God as his own image, projects the image of God according to his own image. And there we have a human being, and we even feed the human being as the deity. There is a lot to it. There is a lot of beautiful things in those rituals as well, like offering the food. The food is blessed by that ceremony of offering it to the deity and so on. So Swami says, do not say, I'm saying that it is as if you insult God, but don't stop doing your pujas. Don't use that as an excuse. Swamiji himself said that, most probably Dayananda. Therefore, it's not necessary. Now, after what we say is you start with Saguna puja, because Nirguna cannot be visualized by a beginner. So stay with your pujas. Don't believe that you are really insulting or limiting or diminishing Brahman. What Shankaracharya criticizes is begin with personal God or formed God, but we should not end there to that. Saguna is wonderful at the beginning. The culmination of this process should take us to the understanding of the nirguna nature of the Lord, from sakaram to nirakaram, sagunam to nirgunam, apara to para, achetanam to chetanam. Nice. Krishna says these people do not know any of that. Therefore, in the name of glorifying me, they are degrading me, as if disrespecting me. As long as they do not know my true nature, they do not understand my higher nature. What's the problem? They will not seek security and fulfillment from my higher nature, which is the only source of security. People do not have the sensible, refined mind to understand the true nature of God. You know? They have no other option to lean on Saguna Ishwara, and then they get a lot of protection there as well, because they start living in harmony with God's laws and principles, and then they start experience more punya, and then they feel, well, things are going really good for me since I began this relationship with the Lord, the Creator, Saguna. But they do not know that punya exhausts itself, and it does not produce permanent satisfaction and security and peace. Nirguna Brahman is the only source of permanent peace, security, and satisfaction. Why? Anything other than Nirguna Brahman is Saguna Maya. Nice, very nice. That's my highlight. Anything other than Nirguna Brahman is Saguna Maya. So Maya, what is Maya? Maya are the gunas superimposed upon Nirguna Atma, Brahman, consciousness. So anything other than the Nirguna, Brahman, consciousness is going to be a superimposition of the gunas. Then it's Saguna Maya. And anything that is within Saguna Maya is matter. And anything, matter, subtle or dense matter, anything that's material is subject to change, fluctuation, and you can never hold on to onto a fluctuating body. How long it will stand? What did Swami mean by saying you cannot hold on to a fluctuating body?
Could it just mean change?
Okay, yeah, it was a metaphor, metaphorically speaking. Yeah, your body is there changing, yeah, and don't get attached to that. How long it will stand, only the Lord knows. Therefore, you hold on to people. Likewise, you hold on to people, to situations, circumstances such as prestige and one's life circumstance. You are just getting attached to that, hoping that they will stay there permanently. But no, things change. And then we complain, oh, this and that left me. Of course, anything that arrives will go, leaves. Okay, just a little bit more. I don't know if you notice, I'm really tired. I'm not sleeping well lately. Let's conclude this passage here. Bhagavan says in Gita, I have said so many things. Did it not fall in your ears? I have said all these things in Gita very clearly. You do not listen to my words, Arjuna, and you want me to listen to your cry. Is this not akraman? What is acromon again?
I think it's devoid of order. It's a
Confusion,
make,
right?
does this not make no sense or something like that?
Okay. Please understand, Arjun. Do not hold on to things which are changing, fluctuations, situations, fluctuating objects, fluctuating people, fluctuating circumstances. They don't give us a sense of security. Everything is appearing, growing, aging, decline, dying, and disappearing. Everything is changing. What will happen if I hold on to any of these changing things? So it's very simple. If you are trying to hold to things in this world, hoping that you're going to be secure, safe, and peacefully satisfied, you are living under illogical, wrong expectation. Therefore, you will suffer because nothing hurts more than having our hopes and expectations crashed. If we expect happiness from these things, the success we get in life, we're gonna crash with great suffering because wrong expectation. Remember, the world is like a cardboard chair. Don't sit on it. Don't lean on it. Don't use it in that sense. You can just use it in a different sense, just for decoration, but don't really lean on it. Just go through it, enjoy it, use the world, but never get attached or never get dependent on anything of this world. Similarly, you can never lean on the world, and the samsara is caused by the leaning on things that are absolutely not security, offering security. They are changing, and they are appearing and disappearing. This is samsara karana. Therefore, Krishna says, param bhavam adya nantaha, which is the highest Lord. Lord means the substratum or the controller of all the beings. So that the nirguna svarupa, they do not know. And the interesting insight here, they don't know how to lean to nirguna Krishna. They do not lean, they do not know, but in truth, we can never really lean to nirguna Krishna or nirguna Brahman. How can we link to something that is the only reality, my very intrinsic nature? We can link to Saguneshwara, find protection, and we can enjoy a relationship that provides a relative sense of peace and security with Nirguna Ishwara. So we lean in God, leaning in things of this world, we are leaning, we are depending, and then I transfer that leaning to Ishwara, Saguna, and then I understand that Saguna Ishwara is but Nirguna Atma, my very Atma. So there is no question of leaning. That's the meaning of from dependence here in the world, dependence in God, to dependence in Brahman, which is synonymous of independence. Because there is nothing to depend upon. There is only Brahman as consciousness. We begin tomorrow. Are you guys okay to come back to our class tomorrow or not?
Yeah, that's good for me.
How about you, Lynn?
Me too.
Okay.
And I was thinking about in this last leaning on things, Swami Dayananda has this wonderful phrase that says settling accounts with Ishvara. And I mean, even leaning on Saguna Ishvara, you're still in Vyavaharika. You haven't really surrendered the individuality to Ishvara, to really settle accounts.
Yeah, I don't remember this passage, this concept of settling accounts, so I can't really comment.
Yeah.
I would have to understand in which context Dayananda says that
I'll
settling.
try to.
You can try to explain now.
Well, the meaning I take from it is that the whole realm of mithya includes the body-mind sense complex, the sense of individuality. And when you settle accounts with someone, a grocer, you give them back the fair value of what you've received. So to me, settling accounts with Ishvara just means totally surrendering individuality.
Yeah.
I think a while ago we talked about that as maybe the ultimate dispassion, letting go entirely of the self, the smaller self, that individuality.
Yeah. So this resolution of the human ego in Ishvara is the first step. It produces great vairagya, and then due to that level of resolution, purification, the ego understands the true nature of Saguna Ishvara as Nirguna Brahman, one's very intrinsic nature, and that produces the ultimate vairagya, because you even transcended the relationship, which is a sort of leaning on Ishvara, but on leaning on Ishvara. So we have to understand that we get everything from Ishvara, and I don't know exactly what he means by settling your account with Ishvara. The human mind, ego, tends to own things that belong to Ishvara. Maybe you have to just understand. So no, this all belongs to you. You project this apparent order. You govern it with your laws and principles. I understood my place in it. And so we have to go through this relationship with Sagundeshwara. And it's
Yeah.
a sort of settling, giving back, rather than just stealing,
Right. Yeah.
things, just this is not mine, the body is not mine, the house is not mine, the money is not mine, the car is not mine. This all belongs to you, and then I'm settling my account, maybe on those lines.
Thank you.
Thank
Beautiful.
you. We meet tomorrow again, same time. I hope I will be better organized and more rested. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste, Om Ishvara. Till tomorrow.
Thank you, Arlinda. That was a wonderful satsang. You did very well considering you're so tired. So very well done. So thank you.
Sometimes to be a little bit tired, tamasic helps.
Always.
Tomorrow. Bye bye.